me ask you about a game that you produced years ago called Journey Escape for the Atari 2600. A memorable game as you play as a game I reviewed quite some time ago. You play as the members of Journey trying to escape like evil managers and groupies and all the bad things that could befall a rock group. And how did that idea come about, and what was involved in executive producing a game like that back in the early 1980s?
Well, what had happened was I had just gotten out of the record industry, and one of my colleagues, by the way, in the record business with me, was a fellow by the name of Jim Levy. Do you know the name?
That sounds very familiar.
Well, Jim Levy founded Activision.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, and he was based in Santa Clara. So at the same time, and they got to Jim because they realized his background in records had the similar dynamics of marketing video games.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some venture capital people come to me and say, we want to start a video game company, yada, yada, yada. And I said, yeah, okay, why not? You know, what the heck? And I love marketing, and the cornerstone of great marketing is market research. And I like to think what I call dumb. And I'm a natural at thinking dumb. So anyway, I thought about what is in the lifestyle of the Atari 2600 player. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Pretty much the same today. But yeah, there you go.
I keep one handy for all occasions.
I'll give you $1,000 for that.
Sold. That doesn't work.
But anyway, I thought about it. Drug, sex, rock and roll. Oh, okay, great. Let's create the world's first rock and roll video game. So I then went, again, looking at the demographics of the Atari 2600 user, who was their favorite band, style of music, so on and so forth. Well, it happened to be Journey, who was the number one group in the world at the time. And fortunately, Journey was based in San Francisco. And of course, at the time, I was in Santa Clara, San Jose, down the road from. So I go down, I meet with Herbie Herbert, and I said, hey, Herbie, the manager of Journey, I said, if you really want to differentiate yourself from all the rest, you guys ought to get in the hippest, coolest thing going on today in video games. And Herbie's wheeler. He says, you know what? That's a great idea. He said, the guys love to play video games. So he rings his secretary and he says, Gloria, hey, get Steve and the guys in here. So Steve Perry and all the guys came in. Hey, how you doing? Yada, yada. Because they have a recording studio where Herbie has his office. And he said, what do you think about this idea? And they said, we love it. It's great. You mean we can be in a video game? Yeah. So then they asked, what's the game about? I said, I don't have the slightest idea. I said, you guys would have to sit down with our game developers and talk about storyline. I said, but I think it would be groupies and managers trying to rip you off, and maybe we'll create some secret enemy that's trying to hunt you down, whatever. And they said, this thing had so much luck written on it, it was unbelievable. But I said, what's the name of your new album? And they said, Journey Escape. And I said, hello, Journey Escape for a video game? It's a natural. So this is what we'll do. So we literally, it's one of my favorite parts, Herbie and I shook hands on the deal. And we signed a contract after the game was released. So, because that's how excited everybody was about it. So we developed the game. Little side story. I asked Herbie, I said, Herbie, do you want the responsibility of licensing the game for other formats? PC, arcade, so on and so forth. He says, nah, don't do that. He says, you do that, we'll split the income. Within 30 days afterwards, and our biggest deal was with Bally, the arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
We had guaranteed revenues of $7.8 million in 1982, and 3.8 of that was advance payment.
Mm-hmm.
So a month after I shook hands with Herbie, I handed him a check for $3.8 million as an advance for the arcade and all that sort of stuff. Reflecting on Journey, I'd like to say a few things. The Journey Escape game is the only game. Well, first off, it's the first music-based game ever
I did not know that.
in video games.
Okay.
It's the only game in the history of the video game industry that had hit music in it while the music was a hit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only game that had a simultaneous release of the game and the album at the same time.
Wow, I did not know that either.
It's the only game that, when released in concert with the album, Journey went on to their standing room only sold-out concert tour in America. It's the only game, when you went into each of the concerts, there was a lot of people get there early. There was 100 Atari machines in each concert with the Atari 26 with the game plugged in. Behind the group in the bandstand, it read Journey Escape, the album, the tour, the game. When you went into retail outlets, same thing, the album, the tour, the game. And we had contests at retail, do this, and you get to meet Steve Perry, free tickets, yada, yada, yada. And here's a even more significant point, if I may. Again, the only game in the history of the video game industry that had distribution in 30,000 game music stores and 30,000 record stores.
I like that you call them record stores. That's good.
Yeah.
'Cause I love records.
Yeah, back then it was, it was the most highly marketed, high profile. We were on everything. I mean, we did a press announcement in New York City, and everybody was there. I mean, from Billboard, Cashbox, Record World, Forbes, Fortune, Wall Street Journal, so on and so forth, And I got to tell you, it was fun.
How'd this sell?
Not well.
It's a fun game, though.
Well, what happened was, that was the time when, by the way, it didn't sell that well. We made $17 million.
Oh, that's not selling well in 82.
No. We made it in interesting ways, I'll put it that way. License, all that sort of good stuff. What happened was, it was one of the most extraordinary events in the history of consumer products. And at the time, there were 17 million owners of Atari hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And it appeared as though they all had a conference call and said, let's stop playing video games tomorrow. There was no indicators. It just, boom.
Yeah.
And that's when a game title that I am sure you're aware of, they literally, like garbage, buried 20 million copies. And that was E.T.
That had to be E.T. And I keep telling, anytime I talk to people about the Atari, I say, I keep getting, when I buy games on eBay, like I think when I bought Journey Escape off eBay, it came with 1 or 2 ETs for packing material or something. They just get rid of ETs by dumping them on me. I don't need any more ETs. Quit sending me ET games because it's awful. It sucks. Now, Journey Escape is actually a good game.
Well, thank you.
And it's relatively easy to find today. So go get yourself a copy. Watch my review of the game because I had fun with it. And I love how you had the Journey music in Atari sounds. That's great. And I got to bring this up to you guys since Journey is like as popular now as they ever were, or it certainly seems like they're super popular again. or maybe they just never went away. I mean, Journey's just one of these bands that's always there. It's the perfect time for a sequel. Journey escapes again or returns, and what do you think?
Well, I'm not just saying this for broadcast buzz, but number one, I compliment you on your marketing thinking.
That's what my degree was in.
Was it really?
Yes.
Beautiful. That's you're absolutely correct. Number two, and this whole Journey thing, I don't know why it keeps embracing me, but it embraces me. It's a gift, you know what I mean? And you're part of that, obviously, by asking the question. I haven't even told this to Inon, but Steve Perry sort of ran away from the world, hiding out and all that sort of good stuff. And last month, my daughter, who lives in Campbell, told me, she goes, "Hey, Dad, Steve Perry just bought a house right up the street." Mm-hmm. I haven't even told you this, Inon. Last week, I called Steve.
No way.
Yeah. I called Herbie, his man. I said, "Hey, give me Steve's home phone number." So he gave it to me. Anyway, Steve and I are going to meet in Los Gatos, California, not next week, but the week after.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was like, "Wow, Bob, how you doing? Whatever." And he says, just get together and hang out. And I got to tell you, what you just said, again, great marketing concept.
Yeah, take a credit.
I actually thought, but with today's audio capacity, I wouldn't put in the Atari sounds. I'd put in the real stuff.
Well, you got the music playing genre, but what I liked about Journey Escape is that you were actually playing the band doing something cool, and I don't think I've seen any other games where you do that. I mean, we all play the band. Maybe you go from the the Van Halen game or something, or the Beatles game. You go through the career a little bit from the past to the future to the present, whatever. But in Journey Escape, you got to do the cool stuff. Like running away from groupies. That struck me as awesome. Well,
we're going to do it again, but this time we're going to use real groupies.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Well,
go video to animated. Right.
Well, tell them it was a great game, and I had a lot of fun playing it. In fact, I'm going to play it tonight. I have this Atari's broken, but I'll use the one that works.
Hey, I'm going to make you a promise, and I always keep my promises. If we do this thing, or even if we don't, Steve and I are going to call you someday.
Well, that'll be a great show. I'd love to hear.
You got it. Done deal.